But especially for lawyers, making that admission to yourself is hard to do because lawyers, especially litigators, are sort of hung up on strength and the appearance of strength. I'm going to be a bulldog litigator and go after the bad guy and put him either in jail if you're a criminal lawyer, or keep him out of jail if you're a defense lawyer, or if you're on the civil side, I'm going to string up this big corporation and win the case for my client, or I'm going to make this pesky plaintiff go away and lose their case. But it's all about strength. It's a battle, and if you show weakness in the face of that battle, the perception is you're not a good lawyer, that you're going to lose, or that nobody would want to hire you because you're weak. But that's just, it's ridiculous. And that's the perception that's been in the legal community for, probably since there was a legal community. This need to model strength at all times and not acknowledge that we're, human beings. And we have, issues, and we have times where we need to take a step back and say, look, I need to not fight so many battles maybe because I need to focus on other things. But acknowledging that you're sick, to go to a doctor is not a sign of weakness, whether it's for cancer, whether it's for diabetes, whether it's for depression, whether it's for, something else. It's just part of life, and you can't beat yourself up, and you shouldn't beat yourself up for being sick. So we need to get beyond that as a society. We're far from there, believe me, but I think we're getting there. And the more that people think about depression and anxiety as a medical condition that can be treated, very successfully treated, I think we'll start moving away from the rash of suicides, and those kinds of issues, because most of the time when a lawyer or anybody who's suffering from depression takes their own life, it's because they have not been treated or not been treated appropriately and successfully, and and there's can be any number of reasons for that. But if you're being treated successfully, suicide's the last thing from your mind because you're too busy living life and enjoying life. Doesn't seem like that's possible when you're depressed, but it certainly is possible. And I wouldn't be here talking about this today if it wasn't possible, because I would be dead. There's no question in my mind.
Well, with the perception that the legal community has, and your statement that we're far from the acknowledgement that depression is a disease and that we as the legal community can move forward. As students moving forward, how can we as students encourage other students or just make our difference in the legal community to make people aware of how this is affecting the community and to, I guess, reverse stereotype the negativity that's associated with depression?
I think a big part of it is doing things like this. It's education. Having people that have experienced it who really understand it at a in a pretty deep and personal way. Be willing to talk about what it is, and hey, I'm not ashamed that I have been depressed. When I've talked about it in class, I get a lot of, or when I talk about it at bar association stuff, so many people say, oh, that's such a brave thing to do. But I got sick. I don't see it as, being particularly brave or anything like that. To talk about, yeah, I got sick. I got treated. I got better, and I survived. So let's talk about it. But at the same time, society, and I think the legal profession is starting to get that. But society at large, I think, is still, we have, just from recent news, especially if you're a man, looking at sort of the sporting world, Junior Seau, one of the best NFL football players of his generation, out of nowhere, it seemed, commit suicide. Lots of, and obviously that's a huge problem with football players right now. There have been, a wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans, Dave Duerson, who was an all-pro with the Bears. These guys who were the embodiment of masculinity and strength, when faced with what they perceived as a weakness, it was hard to admit that they had a problem. It was hard to get help. And, we just, they it's just a shame that as a society we can't look on depression not as not as sort of a character defect to be ashamed of, but just as part of being a human being and saying, look, yeah, it's a disease, go treat it, everybody will support you, You know, we rally around people with cancer. We rally around people with kidney failure. We rally around people with so many diseases, as we should. But you know, folks with that are suffering from depression, it's often, you know, it's a much more personal thing because it's, you know, you're boxed up in your head so much. But you know, I think that there should be, and you know, a lot more sort of paying it forward, you know, with people like me who have gone through it. You know, so doing the education, you know, reaching out to people that, hey, if you're having a problem, you can come talk to me. And you know, certainly for all, you know, however many students we have now, 1,300, 14, whatever it is, you know, my door's always open. And you know, if somebody's having a problem, they're more than welcome to come talk to me about it. I mean, I've been there. You know, I mean, my depression wasn't as bad as that of other people I know, but it was still pretty darn bad. So, you know, I guarantee you, anyone out there who's listening to this, you know, I've experienced much of what have experienced. And, you know, talking to somebody who's been there and sort of overcome it, at least, or has dealt with it, coped with it, helps a tremendous amount. You know, that was a huge key to my getting better ultimately was, you know, having support from lawyers in, you know, primarily when I was living in Greensboro, you know, very respected lawyers in the local bar who were more than happy to, you know, sit down with me and sort of, you know, commiserate and say, yeah, you know, I've been there. You know, here's how I got better. So, you know, I think education and, you know, the sort of institutional support that lawyers get from the bar. So, you know, the North Carolina Bar Association with Bar Cares, the North Carolina State Bar has a lawyer assistance program that's more of a sort of a peer support, which, yeah, I mean, you need the counseling, but you really need the peer support as well. Here in Charlotte, the Mecklenburg Bar has a similar lawyer's assistance sort of peer support based program. So, you know, and another big factor, you know, lawyers since, I don't know, about 6 years ago, as part of our continuing education requirements in North Carolina, have to take an hour of substance abuse or mental health CLE. So, you know, it's certainly in the legal community, perceptions are changing. You know, more and more people are starting to understand that, yeah, this is a disease. A lot of people deal with it, and a lot of men deal with it. You know, and I think it's men who are particularly at risk of suicide because it's, you know, seen as unmanly in our society. But, you know, most of the time when I talk about this issue on CLE panels with other lawyers, they're almost always men. I mean, almost always men. And why that is, I don't know. But men certainly have quite a bit of depression issues, and you know, it's doesn't make you less of a man. Well, one last thing that I'll add, um, you know, students should definitely not be concerned about how, you know, if they call Bar Cares, if they seek, you know, treatment because they're feeling depressed. Just, you can't worry about how that's going to impact your bar application. For example, you know, the state bar, the board of bar examiners are very sensitive to these kinds of issues. They strongly encourage treatment. You know, recognizing that you have a problem or that you need, you know, medical help and getting it. You know, that's exactly what the bar wants you to do. So, you know, if you have to, you know, don't be concerned about having to disclose a call to Bar Cares on your bar application. That's just not something you know, the bar is going to be concerned about. So, you know, when you know, you always need to be honest on your bar application. If it asks you for that, then tell them. But at the same time, it's not something that would ever cause you not to be admitted to the bar. What they want to see, you know, even if it comes up, what they care about is you recognize it and you get help. Because the thing that leads lawyers into problems is not getting help. So, you know, if you recognize you have a disease that needs treatment and you obtain that treatment, the bar will be thrilled because that's exactly what they want. So no one should be afraid to get help because of how it might impact their bar admission. That's simply not going to be a concern.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to us. The Civil Rights Clinic, you know, we want our students and our listeners to be aware that, you know, depression, like you said, is a disease, and we want those out there to seek help when needed. Whatever Charlotte School of Law could do for its students, please reach out to whoever you need to. We have Bar Care's information on the third floor. So just be aware of there's help out there, and please, if you need it, seek anyone. Professor Clark is willing to talk to you. So thank you, Professor Clark. Thank you.